Hello, 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 everyone. Hello. Thank you guys for tuning in to CodeBlaque. You guys know that I love you and I appreciate you guys. So, I wanted to come to you guys today to talk about the college debt and more specifically, the college debt for Black students. I think this is very important because, college debt has a lot to do with our overall wealth as a group and our overall, individual wealth as well, in the amount of wealth that we are actually bringing into the homes and actually having to pocket for savings and retirement and, traveling and things of that nature, even investing. So I thought this was very important. So, for those of you who do not know, currently we are $1.5 trillion in student debt. And when I say we, I mean us as Americans, all people who stay in America who has been to college and owes the federal government. And I actually got that figure from a Market Watch um, article that I read earlier today, which also, gave me the inspiration for doing this video. Now, before I really jump into the thick of things, I would also like to start off by acknowledging any new viewers who is tuning in to my channel for the first time. I welcome you. I invite you to subscribe and also to share, like, my video. And I, would love for you guys to stick around and hear more about the student loans for Black students in comparison to the white counterparts. I would also like to thank the returning viewers. You guys know that I love you and I thank you for your continued support. I love creating this content and reporting back to you guys. So thank you guys as well. Don't forget to follow me on all of my social media pages: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nikhil Young Love. You guys do know that I'm a business owner, so I do have hair products, beard products, skin products, and you can get those and check those out at CodeBlaqueCurls.com. So now that I got all the housekeeping out the way, let's jump right into it. So I read an article, like I stated earlier, that was put out by Market Watch. And in this article, it spoke about the major gap, but even between Black students and white students, as it relates to student loan debt. And so the headliner, which is what got my attention for the article, reads, and let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys so that you guys can see what I'm seeing as well. But the headliner that got my attention reads, 12 years after starting college, white men have paid off 44% of their student loans, while Black women owe 13% of their student loans. Okay, so I think this is very, 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 very important, guys, to pay attention to. And I'm not going to read this article word for word because I just don't want to spend that time on this particular topic. I'm going to try to keep this video under 10 minutes, so you guys bear with me. But in the article, I found it very interesting that in this headliner, as you guys can see, they compare white men with Black women. And I found that to be very interesting because I don't know if, if Black women who have college degrees, and you guys all know, I'm sure you've all heard it, there are several articles that come out stating that Black women are the most educated women, and we are graduating from, not only just educated, but we're graduating from these colleges and we're going out into the world and trying to make the best of life and things of that nature. So I'm assuming maybe that's why they're comparing white men to Black women, and I don't understand that, because as we'll go along in this article, Black men also, who graduate and who go to college as well, is 12. So I don't understand why they compare white men with Black women. But anyways, that's not what this this particular video is about. So as you guys can see, it says 12 years after starting college, white men have paid off 44% of their student loans, while Black women owe 13%. So in the article, it goes on to tell us how Black women, in the same amount of time as white men, we end up owing 13% more, whereas white men have paid off 44% 12 years after they have graduated from college. And then as if you go on down into the article, it also reads that Black men are 12% more in debt, basically stating the same, that 12 years after college, Black students, Black men who have graduated end up owing 12% more. Okay, and then it goes on to say how white women have 28% of their college debt paid off. So basically, to sum that up, you guys, white women and white men have paid off 28% for white women, 44% for white men. And for Black men and Black women, we end up owing after. So we haven't paid off much. We actually owe more. And at the sum of 13% for Black women and 12% for Black men. Now, it does talk about the factors of, what factors into why that is like that. And one of the factors is age. As you guys can kind of see on the screen, I don't know if you guys can even see that on the screen, but it talks about age. And it talks about how, when the younger you are when you graduate from college, the better. Because, if you graduate from college at 17, that means, you have extra time to go out into the world, get a job. Or, if you're 17 and you graduate from college, maybe you can even still, stay at mom and dad's house and, work somewhere and stack your coins. So it talks about how age factors into that. Now that's overall. So that's across any race. Overall, age is a major factor in that. And so basically, the younger you are when you graduate from college, the better. Now, I do want to point this out. We are seeing an uprise in Black women in particular who, they start college at, age 40 and 50. And so that plays a major factor, because if you start college at 40 and 50, you do a 4, 6, or 7 year degree plan. By the time you finish your 50 or in your 50s, and now, the average student loan takes 20 years to pay off, depending on if you got a 4-year degree or, if it took you 6 or 7 years, or, so on and so forth. So we see a lot of these, social media videos and these pictures and these articles on how so many Black women have graduated from college, and that is an awesome thing. Like if that's something that you want to do and you want to spend your money on, by all means do whatever you want to do, but age does factor into that. So it kind of breaks down that as well. It talks about the types of jobs and the types of careers that we tend to go into after college. So, unfortunately, when, Black students graduate from college, a lot of, the Black students go into jobs and careers that do not pay enough for them to even attempt to start paying on some of those student loans and student debt. And so that also factors into that. And our white counterparts, they graduate from college. A lot of times, they have monies that have been saved up for them after graduation. Even the ones that don't, they end up going into careers and jobs where they're actually moving up a lot faster within those jobs and careers, so that they can make more money faster to start paying off the loan debt faster. So that also factors into that as well. Now, this was a major one. The very next factor, which is the third factor, is marriage. Marriage. Typically, after college, those who go to college who are white, and they graduate, the women typically get married right after. The women typically get married right after. And how does married factor into that? This factors in for the white men and the white women, because unless the white woman marries a rich man, that he can pay off his stuff and her stuff, then yeah, but that's not always the case. What is the general case is that a lot of white women and white men, they end up, getting together in these marriages where, the husband may be making 60 or 70,000, the wife is making 60 or 70,000. So they're bringing those combined income into the house, and they're able to save up money as well as pay off student debt for both parties. And that's a major, major, major key in, breaking down that that debt, that student debt after graduation. Now, that compared to Black women and Black men, we typically do not get married right after college. And that unfortunately is costing us. Now, of course, there are several factors that go into why we don't get married right after college, because again, a lot of times, the more general case is that, a Black young lady or a young man who graduates from college, one of the last things that is on our mind is, trying to get married and raise a family. We're trying to go out there into the job market. We're busting our butts trying to figure out how we're going to survive, because now we're adults. Now we've been, somewhat kicked out of our parents' home. Now, we want to kind of go out into the world and be on our own and make our own money and, financially take care of ourselves. So a lot of us, Black men and Black women, that is like our priority number one. We are not necessarily taught that right after college we should get married. That's not something that is really pushed in the Black community. However, in other communities, particularly the white community, Asian community, even the Latino community nowadays, that is something that is encouraged. After you graduate, then you start your family. And of course, I know we've heard of the independent woman thing, where they say a lot of Black women get into this independent woman type of thing, where we go to college, we graduate, and then now we're independent and we, can do our own for ourselves and we don't need a man, and we go through that phase and stuff like that. And so, of course, that does factor into that. Now, I want to make this disclaimer, because I am a college degrees. I have 2 degrees, Black woman. And so, that does not apply to every woman. So I just want to make that disclaimer, because I hear a lot of talk about that, and it is a valid point and it is a truthful point, but it's not true for everybody. But the next thing is, which is the fourth thing, is our rent and mortgage. So for example, this is the difference between white and Black. A lot of white students who graduate from college, usually, for those that don't go straight back home, they find a roommate or they find someone to cut down that rent or cut down some of those bills. A lot of, or they go straight back to mom's house, mom and dad, or maybe they do have their own apartment, but mom and dad is paying part of that or paying the whole thing while their children figure it out. Black students, we don't get that benefit. We typically don't have that benefit. Literally, when we graduate high school, for most of us, generally, we're out of the house. It's a general standard that when Black children become 18, we are now adults. We now have to help our parents if they need help, pay the bills, pay our own bills, things of that nature. A lot of us do not get the benefit where, our parents pay our bills or help us with our bills until we're 30 or until we're 27, like we see with those within, the white society. Now, I want to make this disclaimer as well. I do not think that's a bad thing. I think one of the things that we have to understand and remember is that when we have children, it's about passing down wealth. It's about helping your children gain wealth so that they too can have wealth to pass down. And as a woman, I don't have any children now, but as a woman, it's very important for me when I do have children that I would be able to pass wealth down to my children so that they don't have to work as hard as I had to work to obtain the wealth that I have or have obtained. So, when it comes to passing down wealth, a lot of times we start at zero. We start at zero. We literally go from high school to college, and we have zero the whole time. We don't have a large savings account, if any. Our parents do the little that they can. And they help us that they can. And I'm not saying this is for everybody. I want to keep saying that because I do not want anyone to be offended by this and say, oh, well, that's not me, or that wasn't my case, or that's not true. This is not true for everyone, but generally, statistically, you can look up the statistics. Statistically, 80%, and it may be more, but the last time I read, 80% of Black students who go to college receive financial aid. 80%. Now, it may be more because that number is old, but 80%, the last time I checked, of Black students who go to college, they go to college being funded by the government. They take out loans. And every other group, with the exception of the Latino group, is lower than that. So, that factors into that as well, because that factors into the actual amount of loans that we have to pay back. But the fourth thing was rent and mortgage. So again, when we graduate, we typically don't move back home as Black, as a Black student. We typically kind of go get our own apartment, and struggle trying to pay rent. Some of us sometimes even get roommates, but even that can be a struggle sometimes. And so that also factors into the amount as well, because on average, white students who graduate from college still have the help of their parents, financial help or any other kind of help. So that's a factor. Now, children, and this is gonna probably be a little sensitive for some because, we have children. And when you add a child to any situation, obviously we know that a child is going to bring in is not going to allow us to have a lot of money to pay out towards the student loan. So that could prolong that as well. Again, white women typically graduate and they go get married, typically. Black women, we typically graduate and we don't automatically get married. Generally speaking, overwhelmingly speaking, statistically speaking, we do not just graduate from college and then we're getting married within 2 or 3 years. That's not our situation. So that factors into that as well. Now, some of us do have children. Some of us do have children before marriage. And when that happens, now we have to some of us end up being single, in a single mother predicament, taking care of a child where the father is not there. And that is a major, major, major factor as well. I already talked about the parents who pay. Like I said, 80% of, and this number could be different, but 80% of Black students who graduate from college or who go to college, 80% usually go with the help of student loans, federal grants and loans. And so, again, a lot of us, we don't have the parents who pay our entire college way. We don't have that. A lot of us end up having to take out student loans, which obviously the more loans we have, the more debt. And then you have people in other groups, particularly our white counterparts, who their parents, even the parents that may not be able to pay the entire tuition for all 4 or 5 or however many years, they're able to pay something. And so that also factors into that. Inheritance. Inheritance is a major factor. We all know that inheritance, and I kind of hit on this earlier, inheritance are things like, death insurance policies, stocks and bonds, and, rental, like if you own property, real estate, stuff like that, things that is passed down from the mom and dad or the grandparents to their children. So, again, our white counterparts end up having or being able to gain more of an inheritance, meaning that when they graduate, they could, some of them walk into wealth like that. Some of them walk into, their parents, they own a few rent houses, or their parents own businesses where, they're able to, get some of the benefits of those businesses and kind of cut down on some of their bills and their finances that they have. Some of them come into to life insurance where maybe a family member, a grandparent or something has passed, and they come into, $1 million or $500,000. That happens, and for blacks, a lot of times for black students, that does not happen with us. That is just not the norm or the general for us. A lot of times when our family members pass, when we do have life insurances, we have just enough to pay for the funeral, or we may have 10,000 left over, but 10,000, goes quickly. It's not a lot of money. And so even though that's a small little nugget of inheritance, it's not a lot compared to our white counterparts who end up getting way more. Okay. Also, it talked about how white parents are more likely to contribute to their children's wealth while they're in college. Okay, so that also that is something that factors into that as well. Um, on the other hand, us, a lot of times, mom may send us home with food, go to the grocery store, send us home with a bunch of bags of food and things like that. But in terms of paying on the tuition while we're there, paying on our housing, paying on our food tuition, anybody who's been in college and for those of us who stayed on campus, you have your housing tuition, and then you have your food meal tuition. And then you have like your books and little other like admin type tuitions that all add up. And, even just paying 500 here, 400 there, that helps also pay down. But a lot of times we don't always have that, generally speaking. What else? Okay. Oh, so this now, another major factor that the article actually did mention is how discrimination within the workplace plays a major part in so labor discrimination plays a major part in our debt, us being able to pay down the debt. That plays a major part. Also, I kind of talked about this earlier, but the difference in assets. So, for example, when us as a lot of us as Black, students, those of us who went to school and we graduated, when we graduate, right after we graduate, we're not taught, a lot of us, a lot of times. I think it's a lot better now because people are more aware because of social media, and people are able to actually teach this stuff, on social media. But for many of us who, we didn't grow up in that social media age, we didn't grow up being raised by YouTube or being raised by, Twitter and Skype and all these other social media platforms. But also, I lost. Oh yeah. So assets, what we consider assets. So when we graduate, we're still trying to shop. We're still trying to look good. We're still trying to, appear as though, we have the newest trends on, and, we have a nice car, and we want to appear or seem like college really did us good because now we got out and we could be working somewhere that's only paying like $13 an hour, but we gonna play it up like we really making bank, and like, and that does not go for everybody, because I didn't do that. I was just a very normal college student. I graduated within 4 years, got out, and started working immediately, and just started building and getting raises and building and adding more and more to my overall overall wealth and well-being and stuff like that. And I made a few mistakes and stuff. But I wasn't the type that got out and I went and got, the newest car. When I graduated from college, I kept my old car. I literally drove that car until the wheels fell off. Literally, like I drove that car because it was paid off. And I think I drove it like 4 years after it had already been paid off. And literally, I drove it up to the dealership spot, and it was a used car dealership, and it cut off and it would not come back on. So that was something that I went through. And that was, that's what I did. But I wasn't that type of student where that graduated and I go up to the car dealership and I go get a brand new car that I know I can't afford, and I know I can't afford the payments. I went to the used car spots, got me a fairly nice, somewhat used car. Car notes were cheap enough to for me to pay them without any stress. And I did that for a few, for some years until I upgraded, from one car to the next. And I was able to upgrade and upgrade and upgrade. And eventually I was able to buy new cars and, things of that nature. So what else? Oh, so I'm going to end on this. So after college, when our white counterparts go off and they get married, their combined income, so two people in the house with a degree, with a bachelor's degree, a white man and a white woman in the house with a bachelor's degree, generally they're bringing home $400,000. Now this is what this article is saying, okay? Or they're worth that amount. They're worth that. So they may not be bringing that in, but they're worth that amount. Whereas in a Black household, Black man with a degree, Black woman with the degree is worth $68K. Okay, $68,000. That's a major difference. And a lot factors into that as well. I just kind of went over some of the things that do factor into that, from the labor job discrimination, where we're unable to, get, even though some of us may be able to get some of those same jobs, we're not always being paid the same amount of money for working and things of that nature. And as you can see on the screen, it's almost there on the screen. But that also is a major thing. Now, I want to end on this. And this is something that I got from the article, and I thought this was very, very true. And it says, education is not an equalizer. Okay? Education is not an equalizer. Now, this means so many different things, and I would love to break that down as to what it means, at least for us. But I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to end there. But I thought that was a good place to stop. I think that we need to keep into consideration that, for many of us, many Black people, we think that, we go get a degree or 2 or 3 degrees, that's going to bring us more money, and that's going to put us that's going to make things equal. And for some, it may, but that is generally not the majority statistics. Statistically, a Black man with a degree and a white man with a degree is not equal. A white man with a bachelor's degree still makes way more money than a Black man. That's just facts. And it goes the same for a white woman and a Black woman. Can have the same exact degree, even within the same field a lot of times. This does not say every single case is like this. Yes, you have your few Black people who maybe their education was an equalizer for them, but that does not work for everybody and for the overwhelming majority. So I just want you guys to think about that. I appreciate you guys. I do want to invite you guys to follow me on all of my social medias, Nikel Younglove on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I will put those in the links in the box. I thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Also go to CodeBlaqueCurls.com. Check out some of those hair products. Everything is natural and organic. Guys, you check out the beard and the skin products. Everything smells wonderful. I love you guys. You guys take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.